Hey, we're live. Just having a conversation there. I didn't put out the typical promotion that I normally do, so I don't know if anybody knows that we're on, but it's time for Daily Distinction. Once again, I do this every day at this time, 7 days a week as we're going through this. So if you're here, I'm really glad of that because we did online church again this morning, and it was absolutely fantastic. The church that Tammy and I attend is called Verve, Verve. It's Verve, and it's based here in Las Vegas. And obviously, because of what's going on, we're having church services online, and it's really been interesting. And today, and we knew this, and we'd forgotten it until we got in front of the television and are watching it. My great friend, Captain Charlie Plum, spoke during the service. And hey, Peter, hey guys, good to see you on Instagram. And the great thing about watching Charlie Plum today was this: here we are during a pandemic, and Charlie Plum spent 6 years in a prisoner of war camp in North Vietnam. So if there's anybody that knows anything about quarantine, I think that would be him. Meaningless Images Only is saying hi to me on Instagram, and I follow you, and for the life of me, I can't think of your first name. I'm so sorry, but I appreciate you being there. Peter Lynch, great pal, lives in Colorado, is watching on Instagram. I can see it, but I can't hear you. So sorry about that. Hey, Jeff, great to see you. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Hey, we got a lot of folks watching today, checking in. I appreciate it. Charles, you're always here, and I can't tell you how much I truly appreciate that. Diane from back home, always great seeing you. Cheryl, good Sunday to you as well. And Jerry, another day of house arrest. Yes, here we are. I've got the ankle bracelet on. In fact, hey, Gary, great to see you. Thank you for being here today, Dwayne, and getting ready for the next work week. It's all blended together, isn't it? It's just amazing. Somebody was saying, I've said it here before. Here we are on April 35th or March 97th, something like that, whatever it is. So great to see you here. Thank you so much for being here. And today is Sunday, and we do this as I've said every day. And by the way, my friend Randall Reeder points out that Charlie Plum had a very tiny space to live in, not an entire house. Absolutely. Richard, so great to see you. Don't count the days, make the days. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. If you follow me on Facebook, you know that I stirred up a little bit of controversy talking about the importance of everybody staying home and following what's going on. I don't want to get in that argument today. That's not what this is about. But I just wanted to say thank you for everybody that got involved and got posted. Peter is saying here on Instagram that he watched the Thunderbirds with Mark Sanborn yesterday and shared a socially distanced beverage. That's great. Mark Sanborn had a beverage? You met Mark if you were watching the show when he was my guest here. So anyway, thank you for joining. I got a couple things I want to talk to you about today. First of all, if you saw what I posted, it was about the importance of being reasonable. Reasonable is such a bland word, yet it's such an important word during these times. Reasonable doesn't mean I have to agree with everything that you're saying. Reasonable does not have to be that I surrender everything that's important to me and surrender my position and my rights and everything else. But reasonable does mean that I'm willing to listen, that I'm not going to act irrationally, that I'm going to proceed in a manner that is thoughtful. That's reasonable. And I think these times call on us to think about at least being reasonable. Now, look, there will be time. There was this, it's an old story, but it's a great story about the king that called in the historian and said that he really didn't want to read history or learn all of history, but what he really wanted to do was to have all of history condensed down. And he said to the historian, how much can you condense history? And the historian said 5 words. And the king said, you can condense history into just 5 words. And the historian said, this too shall pass us. This too shall pass us. And it doesn't matter what it is, as we are in the midst of it, as we are in the midst of all this right now, it seems like this is going to go on forever, doesn't it? It seems like we will never get out of this. I understand that. I mentioned a few weeks ago, but it bears repeating. We have so many new viewers and listeners. I remember being in the car with my mom as a kid, and she had the radio on and top of the hour news, and here was the news. And I asked my mom, would there ever be a day in my life that when the news came on at the top of the hour, we weren't talking about Vietnam? Because at that point in my life, as a young person, it seemed like every single day it was about Vietnam. I'm certain there are people younger than I that wondered at some point in their young life, would there ever be a point in their life that the opening story wasn't about terrorism or Iraq? But the fact of the matter is, this too shall pass us. This pandemic that we're in, it is horrible and it is challenging and it is significant right now. I hate that anybody is involved with this. But it also requires us to have a bit of perspective, to have a bit of reasonableness, just to be reasonable about what's going on and to take control of what we can. As my friend Richard says, let's make the days, not just count them. Yeah, it would. I mean, we need everybody, Tiffany. You're so right. We need everybody to be more reasonable. And Sarah, I couldn't agree with you more. Man, I'll tell you what. Come to Las Vegas. Come see us, Tammy and me, when all this is done. It is so frustrating right now. And I think that's part of what concerns me the most, is that because we are so over this right now, I worry that we're going to make a mistake when we're so close to achievement. In my life, I've met so many people who have done things and gotten so close to getting what they want, and then something happens and they get frustrated or they get tired or they get bored or whatever it might be, and so they quit the very thing that if they had stuck with it just a little longer, they could have what they want. Whether it's whether it is a romantic relationship or a home or whatever it might be, they get so close. They do all the right things even, but they stop before they cross the finish line. And I think that's what scares me the most about all this, is that, you look at the numbers and they're going down and we're getting so close, but yet we're so frustrated and so ready to be back out there that we stop being reasonable about what made the numbers go down. We can't quit too soon. Now, look, there are people who feel otherwise, right? There are varying points of view. Let's be reasonable and talk to each other rather than be mad and shout at each other. I think we have to approach this from that standpoint. Jerry, great question, man. I appreciate that. What a great question. What's the number one thing you've learned from the present crisis we are going through? I'm going to give you a good one and a bad one. And here's the bad one. The bad one is it's harder than ever for people to discern who has expertise. I love the line that you are entitled to your opinion, but you're not entitled to your own set of facts. And one of the downsides, one of the great sides of social media is our chance to do this, right? To talk to each other and to be engaged with each other and be involved with each other. One of the downsides of social media is, Joe from Facebook can post something that's radical and gets retweeted a gazillion times. And we don't have a filter that can help us discern expertise or the lack thereof. So the one thing that I've learned, and it's a negative thing, quite frankly, but you got to have the negative to make the positive worthwhile. The negative is that um, we are unwilling to listen to experts, or we want to believe that because we did a Google search that we are an expert. There's a doctor friend that has a sign in his office that says, "Don't confuse your Google search with my medical degree." Now, look, I know we want to be informed. If I, I, I had a test the other day and it came back positive, and naturally I get online, I'm looking for everything, and and I'm searching it online, and I get it. When my first wife was dealing with ovarian cancer, we got online and we read everything and all that, and what we didn't have was the perspective that someone with expertise has. And that's absolutely critical. But the problem is, because of social media, we have we don't listen to experts. We listen to the expert. Well, Jerry, you got it right. A point of view doesn't mean it's expertise. What we tend to do is to try to find, instead of going for expert opinion, what we try to do is to find someone's opinion that agrees with what we've already decided, and then try to mold that into expertise. And I think that's difficult, and I think that's sad. But the other thing that I've learned from this, and it's a positive, is the importance of thought. In other words, we get so busy doing what we do, we don't make time to think about what we do. And as I've said here before, the old political line is never waste a good crisis. And so what I've been trying to do is not waste this crisis and use it to think and to plan and to build and to grow and to learn. So if there's anything that I've learned, it's a reinforcement of the importance of learning. That makes sense? I've learned to reinforce the importance of learning. And I encourage the same for everybody. Oh, Diane, you got that right. We live in a microwave society. I put instant oatmeal in the microwave and shout at it to hurry up. We don't want to wait on anything anymore. I think about, I've used this in speeches before about how, in the old days, I'm old enough to remember watching television, and you'd sit and you'd watch, and there wasn't that much selection on, and you change the channel with your bare hands. There are people watching right now who have no idea what I mean by that. But now how do we watch television? Zap, 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 zap. We don't even do that anymore. Tammy said last night, and she's like scrolling through what's on Netflix so fast, I can't even keep up. Yeah, no. And then there's nothing on. There's never been, we say there's nothing on. There's never been more access to great entertainment than there is today, yet we still want to say, it's not enough. You're so right. We live in a microwave society. Charles mentions the fields of diamonds, and that is a great old story. I'm going to tell a story real quick. Earl Nightingale was the first that I heard tell his story, and the story was originally told by, and I'm drawing a blank on his name, Charles, but he was the founder of Temple University. This is how Temple University got founded, was that this minister who wanted to found this great university, traveled the country as a professional speaker and got paid for the speech. And then he took that money and he founded Temple University. So this was the story that he told in all these speeches. And the story, and I don't know if it's true or not. I need to do some research on that. But the story as told was that in South Africa, this farmer had heard about people who were finding diamonds and making their fortune, kind of like the gold rush here in the United States of 1849. The people were rushing into the continent of Africa to try to find diamonds. And he decided the work on the farm was boring, and that he was going to go out and find his fortune and search for his fortune and find diamonds. And so he sold his farm, and he spent the rest of his life being a diamond prospector, trying to find diamonds, and never did, and died broke. Meanwhile, the new farmer, the farmer that had purchased the original farmer's land, is walking along by a creek one day and sees this shiny stone, and he picks it up and he takes it in and he puts it on the mantle of his fireplace. He'd never seen one quite like that before. And a few weeks later, a friend, a professor, came by, saw it, and almost fainted. It was, in fact, to that time, the largest diamond that had ever been discovered. The farmer who newly owns the property says to the professor, well, there's tons of those. I just thought they were rocks. There's tons of them down in the creek bed. And the land of the original farmer is now the location of the largest diamond mine in the world. The point being that the original farmer was literally standing in acres of diamonds. But he thought that riches and success would be found elsewhere, not where he currently was. That is, in essence, Charles, to your point, part of what we're going through now. You know, there's opportunity around us. This pandemic not only creates incredible challenge, and it does, and it's tough, and it's difficult, and it's awful, but it also creates some incredible opportunity for learning, we are standing in acres of diamonds. It's just how we deal with it and approach it and use it. Cheryl, thank you. Yes, Russell Conwell. Yeah, absolutely. Founder of Temple University and the person who originally talked about acres of diamonds. So very good. Thank you for that. Hey, Tim, great to see that you're here today. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, you know, we're simultaneously, not only that, but all at the same time. Well, not to be redundant and to say it more than once, but thank you for that. I really appreciate it. So it means so much that so many folks are tuning in and really enjoy being here. My pal Phil will take it to the limit one more time. You bet. The Eagles are Randy Meisner singing lead. I got to tell you a quick story about that, Phil. I was disc jockeying at my little hometown station in Southern Indiana, and Rick Nelson and the Stone Canyon Band played the Scott County Fair, and I got to introduce them. And interestingly enough, the bass player told me that he only had a couple more dates to go playing bass for Rick Nelson because he met some folks at the Troubadour Club in Los Angeles, and they were starting a band. And he said, so if you ever see anything by the Eagles, that's going to be us. It was Randy Meisner, who's the lead singer on Take It to the Limit. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Man who hears what he wants to hear and disregards. There's another great lyric right there. Man, you're hitting us with a great lyric from Simon and Garfunkel, or as Gary Burbank, one of my favorite disc jockeys, always used to say, from Simon and Bullwinkle. Well, who during this time has been the most distinctive or iconic that you've noticed, industry or government? Great question, Dwayne. It'd be interesting to see what people think. I really, even if you disagree with what he's saying or what he's doing, man, I got to tell you, I just have such abundant respect for Bill Gates. Even if you disagree with what he's doing, he's trying to do something. I mean, if you had all that money, you could have the biggest yacht in the world. You could have the fastest plane in the world. You could buy sporting teams. You could do anything that you wanted. I mean, there is no limit to his wealth. But yet he's basically giving it all away, at least a very, very substantial portion of it. I admire and respect that. I admire and respect more than anything, though, the nurses and the doctors and the people who are on the front line, because at the end of the day, holy cow, I mean, they are risking their lives on a daily basis so that others might live. So Bill Gates, because of the true philanthropic nature of what he's doing, I never get the sense with him. Now, I do with some others, but I never get the sense with him that he's doing it to promote himself. But that he is instead leveraging his notoriety to make good things happen. So in terms of an individual, in terms of a group, I don't think we can overthink what those nurses and doctors on the front line are doing every day, and the sacrifices then that they have to make when they go home and they can't be with their kids and they can't be with their husbands because of the risk of infection. Man, I just think that's incredibly important and powerful. Hey, here's Tim Gillette. Tim and I had the privilege of being Tim's guest on his program. So that was really cool. Let me back up here instead. I don't have all minute. Yeah, exactly. Hurry up. I don't have all minute. That's a great line, Tim. Thank you. That's what we are. How you doing? It's great to see you. Thank you for watching today. Here's somebody from back home. Hi, Ronita. Talk about being somebody on the front lines. Ronita is a nurse, and she's setting small goals she can accomplish by myself daily. Yeah, that's really, really terrific. That's what we all ought to be doing. Perfect. Hey, Bonnie, it's always great to see you. Hey to Augie, thank you both for watching. Jeff, my pal I was talking to last night. Yep, it's finding that diamond in the rough. That's right. You were exactly right. Yeah, words are a tool. Anyone can take the golden rule as an example. I see no one. I mean, yeah, Todd, there you go. You're spouting some good ones. Pam? Is that who you're going to suggest? Bill Gates? Yeah, it's so true. In terms of an individual, that is, he's doing some great work. I have not seen that, Ronita. We will take a look. We will take a look. Tiffany, what a great point you're making. Tiffany says the front lines have changed. In other wars, it may have been in foxholes, but the foxholes today are in the ERs and ICUs. That is so true. That is so powerful. Hey, I want to remind. Oh gosh, he just came on here on Instagram. Tomorrow, right here, Grammy award-winning recording artist, member of the 6-time Country Music Group of the Year, multi-platinum recording artists, Diamond Rio and Dana Williams from Diamond Rio, one of my best pals in the world. And the problem for Dana and me tomorrow is I think we could just turn the camera on and each of us say like a word and it'll remind us of something and we'll laugh. It'll be inside jokes for 30 minutes tomorrow. But I'd love for you to join. If you're a country music fan, you got to hear from Dana. Even if you're not a Diamond Rio fan or a country music fan, Dana and his wife Deanna have a retail store in suburban Nashville. We're going to talk about what happens to a business and what are some of the things that they're doing when the world goes crazy. So if you're a country music fan, I know you're going to have to be here to hear and see Dana. If you're not a fan of country music, but you're looking for how do you engage employees and keep your business going, Dana's going to be talking about that as well. So really looking forward to seeing Dana. And there you see on if you're on Facebook or Twitter, you see Dana's bass guitar there, the 5-string bass. So we're going to keep it coming, and Dana's going to be with us tomorrow as the guest on the show. And I can't wait because we are going to have a blast. Hey, one more thing I want to remind you of. I want to make sure I don't forget. Tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, it's the second installment of the Ken and Glenn Show with a guy named Scott. I think you may have heard me talk about what we did was Ken and Glenn were having a show, and they saw that I was watching one night, and I joined in, so they asked me to be a part of the show. So all three of us are creating this show, and we are having a blast doing it. Had a great call last night, planning on what we're going to be doing, and so it was a blast. So make sure you take a look tonight. It's 8 o'clock tonight, the Ken and Glenn Show with a guy named Scott. We're going to be talking. Glenn, by the way, if you missed when Glenn was my guest here, you'll know him. He's a character actor, one of the most successful character actors in show business today. He is currently on The Resident on Fox. He had a huge role. Kiefer Sutherland is the only guy that appears in more seasons of 24 than Glenn. He was Agent Aaron Pierce in and the good guy gets the gal too. Spoiler alert in 24. But you're going to love meeting Glenn and listening to him tonight as well. So reasonable. That's what we need to be. That's what we need to be working on. It's what we need to be focusing on. Is let's tap the brakes just a little bit. I am so anxious to get back out in the world. Man, I have no income right now, basically, because there are no meetings, there are no speeches. Many of you are going through the same and worse in terms of what's happening with your finances and what's happening in terms of your income. But man, let me tell you, reasonableness means that we can take a longer view. Reasonableness means that we have this desire to do this, but we're willing to hang on until it's done just right. So let's be a little more reasonable as we talk to each other, even if we disagree with each other. Let's be a little more reasonable as we communicate with each other. Let's find a way to make it work. Let's find a way to make it work. So let me hit a couple more comments before we get out of here today. Impressed with company leaders like Arthur Blank. Yep, paid employees before the government assistance was offered. I think if they have the time to do it, not time, if they have the resources to do it, that is absolutely what they need to do, right? I understand in some small businesses, you have to terminate employees, you have to furlough them or whatever you want to call it, because if you don't, there's no business for them to come back to once this has passed. I get that. You've got to protect the business as an entrepreneur, because if you don't, then there's no business for those employees to come back to. But if you do have the resources like Arthur Blank or others, then taking care of your people is the way that you prove that you walk your talk. I've been a part of so many meetings where people get up and say, our people are our most important asset. Our people, we are family, it makes a difference. And then they turn around and the first thing they do is cut them when the times get tough. That's not what you do with family, right? I'm not calling my sister and saying, boy, economic times are tough. I've got to let you go as my sister. she may wish I'd do that, but I ain't doing that. Right. So it's the time that we show that we walk our talk, right? That we walk our talk. And that's so important. John, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. We all need to be a source of hope. Even if we disagree, man, if we can just be a source of hope for others, you nailed it there, my friend. That is so good. Be a source of hope for others. Hey, Bruce, it's so interesting you mentioned that. Right as this started happening, I turned in the manuscript for the new book. And then I had the big blinding flash of the obvious that, and I talked about this one day, is that the way we're going to look at business is BP and AP from now on. In other words, before pandemic and after pandemic. This changes so much. So guess what? I took the manuscript back from the publisher. The publisher was happy for me to do that because, if the book comes out in August, if I don't talk about the pandemic, it's old news before it even comes out. So that is what I am working diligently on starting Monday, is the rewrite of the manuscript to get the insights that we've all learned from this as a part of that. So I'll keep you posted on that. Hey, there you go. Making some more ribs for your loyal Starbucks workers. Tim, you are the best at that. That is so cool. Thank you, Charles, for summarizing. That is absolutely perfect. Listen to another's point of view, but you don't have to, and you make a great point, Charles. Just as you don't have to automatically agree with it, you don't automatically dismiss it either, right? If both of us are saying exactly the same thing and thinking exactly the same way, then one of us is unnecessary, right? Let's do that. Hey, Joe, it's great to see you. I didn't see that you were on here. Thank you for being here. Giving the respect to communicate with your team is you are so right. The least that we can do. Man, you're spot on with that. Hey, Colin, great to see you. Our chef has said many times the Richard Branson line, the customer does not come first. Your employee comes first. If you take care of them, you don't have to worry about taking care of your customer. Yes, you are very fortunate to work with somebody like that, but he's absolutely right. I wrote about this in a previous book, that there was this particular airline that was trying to balance their books on the backs of their employees and then wondering why they were getting such horrible customer evaluation, wondering why their loyal customers were now becoming the loyal customers of another airline. And the reason is because you can't bully your employees and then expect them to deliver the ultimate customer experience. So you are exactly right, and that is so important. Everybody has a different way of counting it. You bet. And this is good. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Hey, Pam. Yeah, the new we are going to alter the subtitle. So I can't give you that. But the new book is going to be titled "The Ultimate Customer Experience." I own the federally registered trademark on that term, and I really haven't. I've never had a book with that title before. So we are coming out with a new book called "The Ultimate Customer Experience." What makes this book different than the others that I've written is this is really geared for frontline people. If you look at Iconic and that, it's built for entrepreneurs or it's built for managers. For example, Iconic, a bank might buy that and give it to every branch manager, but you wouldn't give it to the teller. This is a book that I'm writing, hopefully, that everybody will read, because the ultimate customer experience is really delivered at the front line. So that's what it is. And I appreciate you asking that. So thanks very much. Hey, everybody, it's been another great edition. Man, I tell you what, I love how everybody jumps in here and contributes and throws great questions and great comments out. That's what makes it work, right? That's what makes it work. I'll look forward to seeing you tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Central, and or 5 o'clock Pacific, not Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific for the Ken and Glenn show with a guy named Scott. And I will look forward to talking to you right here tomorrow with Dana Williams, our special guest from Diamond Rio. That'll be tomorrow's broadcast. I look forward to seeing you then. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and be reasonable.